issue here is that it's just nasty out. You have it what about 37 degrees, and you have sideways rain coming our way, and with the to me these are the worst of the worst days, and you don't mind the snow, but you have a it's above freezing, so there's no snow, and it's really windy. So it's rain and not snow, so you get immediately wet. I've got wet socks right now, just walking in and out of the house and in and out of the Purdue Northwest Commercialization and Manufacturing Excellence Center. And then you get the wind in your face, and then you don't get any of the beauty of the snow. So it's about as nasty of a day as it gets around here, and get some rain mixing with snow, breezy, wispy, nasty. They don't put that on the forecast. 37 degrees here at the Strachan Van Til Studios, and then on the campus of the Ironworkers, Local 395. Hey, Ryan, can you do something? Oh, there you go. It's working all right. I don't know why that headset is right there, but it is, and it's in my way. All righty. Good morning. How are you? All right, let's reset. High of 43 today, high of 42 tomorrow, and high of 46 on Saturday, and a high of 50 on Sunday. But today is your nasty day. And 37 degrees at Ironworkers Local 395. It's 38 degrees at Local 599 across the city of Hammond from here. What do we have in terms of traffic? 294 around the city looks pretty good. 80 going east and west looks good. The Bishop Ford's the one that's tough right now, and that is bad from Dalton Avenue all the way up through the merge. So good luck with that one. It just doesn't have any rhythm this morning. Bishop Ford's bad. Stay off the Bishop Ford right now if you can and get away from it. Skyway Toll Road, Barman I-65, US 30, Klein Avenue. So I did the two games last night from Lake Central, and what an atmosphere. What a great atmosphere. And then I got home to water in the basement, so I took a few hours of that. So running on some fumes here, but that's all right. No tea today, or decaf, so that, I'm thinking maybe I get back for an extra hour right after the show. How's that sound? But anyways, I'm Jim Delo. I want to thank a huge crowd of WJOB people and a lot of people coming up to the booth last night at the Lake Central sectional. And, of course, in that first game, Lake Central just pounded on Crown Point. Crown Point it's hard to watch a team that you know is better than they played, and they just couldn't get anything going. They had 15 points at the end of 3 quarters, and they had 10 points at halftime. So they were pretty consistent with like 5, 5, and 5. I think they had 4 in the first half quarter, 6 in the second quarter, and 5 in the third quarter. And that's tough to watch when a team just can't hit a shot, can't get an offensive rebound, and then has trouble stopping the other team. But I'll tell you what, they're a much better team than they showed. They have played a freshman and a couple of sophomores, and Crown Point will be good in years to come. But I'll tell you what, their season ended last night at the hands of the Lake Central Indians. All right, Lake Central is going to go on, and they're going to play Munster, which was losing by as many as 13 points to Lowell. And then in the fourth quarter, Javon Morris, perhaps the premier player, or one of the, perhaps the premier player in that sectional at Lake Central, he kind of took the game over and wound up with 22 points for the Mustangs as they were able to pull away. It looks like they beat them handily by 7, but that was some late fouls and so forth. And as 40 seconds left, that game was I think Munster was winning by 1 with 40 seconds left. They wound up winning by 7. So great game. So that sets up EC Morton at 6 o'clock and Lake Central Munster at 7:30 from Lake Central. And once again, I want to thank, I ran into Larry Veracco, the superintendent in Lake Central Schools, and Chris Enyart. He is the athletic director. He may not be that well known around here because he didn't grow up around here and doesn't have the big past. I think he was in South Newton and maybe North Newton, and then eventually he just worked his way up here a couple of years ago and got the AD job. And man, do they do a good job! And they have the best facility. They have a really good facility. I wouldn't say it might be the best facility just because there's so much room, and they spread things out, and they have all the newest things. They have the hospitality room right on the upper level of the balcony. I still think it's the best place to watch a basketball game is the Hammond Civic Center, but right behind it right now is Lake Central. Just well done. Too bad it's in blue and white. Everything's in blue and white and a little bit of gray, and that's just a little. It just doesn't make you feel good if you didn't grow up with the blue and white. All right, let's take a look. We did that. We did traffic. We started to do it. Oh, Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. What's going on in your guys' world, huh? The Sunday prohibition is going to be over. Is that this weekend, Ryan? Are we doing that Sunday? Yeah, I think I'm going to be the first one to buy beer at Strachan Van Til's, and I'll go out there at noon on. Let me see, noon on Sunday. I will not be in church, so let's see. Yeah, I should be able to do that. That works out great, and I'll be over at one of the Strachan Van Til's, and I'll walk in Facebook Live buying some beer. Now the question is, what kind of beer will it be? And you know what? The Kiernans around the corner here have been good friends and good supporters of WJOB for so long. So can it be Bud Light, Ryan, or do I have to buy a certain kind according to this promotion that Ryan's setting up? But my chosen, Alexis likes Blue Moon. Yeah, let's see. She'll drink. She won't drink Bud Light. She drinks like the Modelo or Blue Moon or Sierra Nevada. Those kind of crafty beers, kind of weedy beers. So I'll have to get a 6-pack of Bud Light and a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada, and that should take care of everyone. Maybe we'll get, well, I don't know. Anyways, what I'm talking about with the Kiernans, they're around the corner with Calumet Breweries, and they had it. Their dad had it, and John Kiernan just retired after a ton of years over at Calumet Breweries. Brewery or Breweries? Brewery, Calumet Brewery. And now Mark's running it, and so we have to do that because, you got to support your friends. So hopefully they have some Bud Light at Strachan Van Til's on Sunday at noon, which is when you should be able to buy beer also. It's kind of a big turnaround. Let's see what the Times has to say. Dan Carden will call in on Monday after we do this, and he, of course, writes these articles. He says, Hoosiers on Sunday will be able to purchase in Indiana alcohol for at-home consumption for the first time in the state's 201-plus year history. Governor Eric Holcomb yesterday signed into law Senate Enrolled Act 1, which authorizes retailers that already sell beer, wine, or liquor 6 days a week to also sell on Sundays between noon and 8 p.m. local time. Now, it overwhelmingly passed the Senate and House. It includes an immediate effective date, which means retailers can sell alcohol on Sunday beginning this weekend. All right. Holcomb said this. He says, if you're doing your grocery shopping, all the aisles will be open to you. There's absolutely no need any longer to make a run for the border, which many people do, even in Indianapolis. When I had a short stint at Bloomington before they asked me to take my talents on down the road, I went on down the road on some Sundays, driving from Bloomington past Terrible Haute all the way into Illinois a few times just to get it. Ryan, you ever make an Illinois run? It's like, what, about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes you just got a little, you just feel like you need a little something on a Sunday, especially when you're not going to class and you're just pretty much there to party the whole time you're there until you get kicked out. That's a kind of a rhythm you find out. I used to drive over to Terrible Haute because I had a gal friend there that I would go visit, and it's a much easier Sunday expedition from Terrible Haute than it is to, hey, Ryan, can you fix this thing here? I don't know what you got going there. There it is. There you go again. Look at that, huh? It's going dark on me. All right, but it's much easier Sunday expeditions from Terrible Haute than it is from Bloomington. All right, what else do we have going on around? I'd like to hear from you guys. What are you doing? Anybody go to a game last night? Anybody want to talk about it? The Lake Central sectional? Lake Central did a great job on I think Dave Molosnik had his team ready to play. I think you are in for some amazing games on Friday, as you are talking about some of the best basketball, even basketball. I mean, there's just evenly matched teams going at it on Friday at Lake Central, on Friday at Hammond, and Friday at Whiting. I don't know that much about Chesterton. I know Valpo won easily, and so did Michigan City. So they'll lock horns on Friday evening, and we'll have that as part of the Region Sports Network. We'll share their stuff over. And so anyways, you want to talk about any of that? Munster looked like they were going to lose big time. Looked like Lowell had their number, and then Javon Morris took over the game, and that was it. And, if, every once in a while you just got to go to your marquee player, and he's just got to take over a game or you're not going to advance. And that's what happened. Javon Morris, kind of a mild-mannered kid, and sometimes got to take a little match on the backside and light a fire. And near the end of that game, he did that. Wound up with 22 points. Really was a joy to watch. And you could go watch that fourth quarter, of course, because it's kind of historical these days. We're changing from radio to video on high school sectionals, and we did those games last night in video. All right, 219-845-1100. Let's see what's going on with Bill. Hey, Bill, how you been?
Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
I'm a little wet this morning. How about you?
Well, I'm just getting back. I was in Cleveland, Tuesday. Yesterday I was in Detroit, so I just got back late last night. Drove past Lake Central, seen how busy the parking lot was, so that was cool to see. A lot of people back in the local sports. I was actually calling about this liquor being sold on Sunday. I wish there was a way we could do statewide sales and see how much money the state of Indiana is going to make on selling alcohol on Sundays now that they've been giving away to neighboring states. If you live south or east or here in Hammond, when I used to live in Hammond, it was nothing to go to Lansing. But now that I live in Lowell, Jim, if I don't stock up, it ain't like I'm an alcoholic, but if I don't buy beer for Sunday, like for Super Bowl Sunday or something like that, forget it, man. It's a long journey for a 12-pack of beer.
Well, yeah, it depends what side of Lowell you're on, but still, even if you take Route 2 all the way across, and I don't think there's a liquor store right in that little area right across the state line. You got to drive a ways, right?
Yeah, you got to drive a ways. I live really by Lake Dale.
Oh, okay. You're a ways away.
I'm a ways away, man. You got to prepare for war at time of peace, right?
You know what? I haven't heard that in a while, but you are correct. How was Cleveland and Detroit traffic going out there?
It was fine. It wasn't too bad. I had to go to two of our different shops, two other shops we have, deliver a forklift here, pick up this, take that there, and bring a truck back to Chicago yesterday. So it was interesting.
Hey, let me ask.
It was cool, though.
Is there one place you don't like to drive to that comes ahead when every time they say, hey, you got to drive here, and you're like, oh, are you kidding me? Like St. Louis or Detroit or Cleveland. I don't mind the Cleveland ride. I like taking the toll road.
Yeah, that's what I do. I take toll road. You know what? Honestly, I've been here 16 years, so I pretty much know everywhere I go, and I don't go any further than Pennsylvania. I'm not doing any New York runs. I'm not going to L.A. So I'm home. For the most part, Jim, I'm home every day. Every day.
Yeah,
and it's rare that this overnight stuff happens, and when it does, it's a nice break from Chicago traffic. Every now and then, different stuff is cool.
You got it, man. Well, I could just see you. I bet you listen to the radio all night wherever you're at.
You know what? Well, the mayor of Hammond knows I'm an avid Howard Stern listener, so I got satellite radio, so I'm always got something to listen to when I don't listen to you in the morning.
Hey, you know what? I'm a Howard Stern guy too, but I forget to turn them on, and I forget that, before we go to bed, Alexis and I listen to podcasts a lot of times, and she likes the crime ones, like stories of murders and stories of political corruption and lawyers and prosecutors doing podcasts, and I don't mind that. I listen to them with her, but they put me right to sleep, and she'll still be up an hour later listening. But if Howard Stern's on, I'm not going to sleep right away because he's so stimulating.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's funny though? I don't know. I don't want to keep too much of your time, but what's awesome is he went to satellite radio. He don't have the FCC rules, and be honest, his show, man, it's cleaned up a lot compared to when he was on regular radio. He still has a couple words here and there, and some subject manners, but that dude, man, he's got an awesome work schedule, don't he, Jim?
Yes, he does, man. So you know what?
God,
Although I'll tell you what, other than sectionals week, so do I.
yeah, yeah.
You get a lot of freedom when you just do one show a day. All right, man.
Hey, look, you both share the same birthday, so that's probably why I listen to you both. You two are awesome, dude.
Hey, then you got to listen to Rush Limbaugh because he and I and Howard Stern all share the same birthday.
I can't listen to Rush Limbaugh.
You know what?
Sorry,
No, wait. No, let's discuss this, okay? It doesn't matter where you're at politically. Rush Limbaugh is a blowhard. There's no doubt about it. If you were sitting next to him at a party or a communion or something, you would be, why do I got to sit by this guy? But he does tell a pretty good story, and you got to give it to Rush Limbaugh that he does that. And I'll listen to Rush sometimes.
Well, Jim, I'm kind of independent. I'm not pro-Republican. I'm not pro-Democrat. I got to tell you, we didn't have a good candidate in this last election, no matter who you were for. I'm sorry. I wasn't for Hillary, and I wasn't for Donald Trump. They're both idiots, in my opinion. I hate to be blunt, but that's the way I felt.
They're both idiots. That's a pretty good line. They're both idiots.
They are. They're both idiots, and here's the deal. In my opinion, if anybody votes for this Oprah, if she runs, they need a foot up their derriere, too.
Leave it right there. Thanks a lot, Bill. Talk to you.
All right, man. Bye.
Talk to you. Let's talk to Kenny on line 2. Kenny, these are the nasty days. These are why you moved to Hawaii. You know what I mean?
I'm on my way to Schneider right now, and to go get some stone, and I know. The other day, Jim, I was going to call you. It was Tuesday, and I got up about 3:15, jumped in a hot tub because I had to clean it, so I drained it and cleaned it, and I know I sit there, but it was such a beautiful day, and the energy, and and then you got on a couple hours later, you're on there going, man, get outside and this that. I'm like, man, I got so much done already in the pitch black, but it's just. We got the winter, and what are you going to do? I mean, I know I think about Hawaii all the time. In fact, I ran into a kid at the Omni the other day. He was from Kauai, the island of Kauai, and we're talking. Goes, dude, what are you doing here? I go, I don't know, but family, and that's what my whole world's all about, is family, But so, what are you going to do?
I believe that, and but here's the thing. I don't mind the cold. As a matter of fact, I love the extreme cold when it's just flat cold and sunny. I think those are beautiful days. The ones that are tough to take are when it's between 32 and 40, it's wind off the lake, and it's raining all day.
That's today, baby.
That's today, man. It's just like, what? I hate this.
I know. I just put gas in the truck, and I'm like, oh, this is great, But it could be snow, too, Oh, by the way, I'm a Jim Dito guy. How's that?
All right, that's pretty good. I like it.
Oh no, hey, ever since the flood, no way, bro. I'm your best. Whatever. But hey, Jim, real quick. The other day, Harlow was talking about the dump, and Gary, and then they were just getting into it, and then Walt calls and starts talking. And I love Walt, but he starts talking about Giuseppe's and Italian food and everything, and I'm like, oh boy, come on, let's get back on track with what's going on with that? The Gary, another dump is coming or something or whatever the heck. Know anything about that?
You know what? Since we started hitting it, we got this contract to do the video. I have not paid attention to the dump in Gary and what the issues are. But I mean, all I know is that it's close to a residential neighborhood, and they're going to need some special dispensation. But I'll do a little research on it. What do you know about it?
I don't know much about it. In fact, I think they're doing some kind of. I think today they're doing it's supposedly, because I know Dave, from Gary, talk about it, and I guess it's like a construction, like all the houses that they're busting down or something. It ain't gonna be a toxic dump, but you know how that goes, man. All right, can we bring in a little bit of, So I don't know what it is. they're talking like construction debris, but you know.
Where do you send your construction debris now?
Well, I don't do construction. I do landscaping and concrete. So my old buddy Ramon over there, Gary Material Supply, he's not there no more. But we take a lot of concrete there. Matter of fact, when we were doing that with Rick Kubik, my friend, I didn't want to say anything on the air with Channel 5, but I dumped Jimmy about shouldn't say nothing, but I dumped him for about 5 years. Our friend lived right on the river, and she says, Ken, the river's tearing my yard. It's going to come up to my house. You got anything? I go, well, I got a lot of concrete, and 5 years, Jim, we dumped concrete, and then we put dirt over it and everything, it was really a nice thing because it was easy for us to put it there and we didn't have to travel with it. But yeah, that's the problem. You get a lot of dirt and concrete and this and that. You got to put it somewhere. The good thing about dirt and landscape stuff is it decomposes. You start throwing toxic stuff. We got to save the world, man, or think about the kids and the grandkids and now the Gary dump is closed, the Munster dump is closed. Where do you bring stuff? That's the I don't know. Like I said, I'm out here in Schneider right now waiting for the place to open up, and I know they got a dump out here, but I certainly don't drive out there to dump. So,
all right, I got the story. I got the story here. Hang up and listen, and I'll talk about it on the other side of the break. Yeah, I'll hit that on the other side of the break. I don't think that advanced, put it that way, construction debris landfill at 600 feet from houses, and they don't want to do it, I guess. As far as I see, and I see a Dan Carden article here from a couple of weeks ago out of Indianapolis, so I don't think that went anywhere. Hey, I'll be right back. AM 1230, WJOB 104.7 FM, also streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On our way out, we're going to hear a clip, and you're going to see a clip of last night's games. Take it, Sam. Zabrecki left side for Munster, 238. They haven't led in this game. And the long three is put up by Morris, and there's Munster's lead, 46-45, top of the key long three.
You said earlier Morris needed to come alive. He scored 5 in the last 2 minutes. He must have been listening to you. Munster can't win without Javon Morris playing well.
Noah Durr gets it, puts it up, and he is going to, he misses foul. That. I thought he was going to have a chance for a three-point play. Coos, what do you think? They're going to Noah Durr. I think that's a good idea for the Lowell Red Devils.
I think if you're Lowell, every possession you need to get the ball down low. You've got some size. Lowell has gone really cold from behind the arc with Hudak and some of the other shooters. So I don't think there's anything wrong with every possession down, getting the ball. The first shot is up. It is good by Noah Durr. 46-46 with 2:15 to go. Thank you for listening to WJOB 1230 AM 104.7. From Lake Central, as this is the first time that they've had a sectional championship here. Durr up with the second one. It's up. It's good. 47-46. Noah Durr hits both. Lowell regains the lead with 2 minutes to go.
Durr with 14 points now for Lowell. 47-46 Lowell. Munster ball, 2 minutes left here. Class 4A sectional action. Community Healthcare, our presenting sponsor.
This has been a good game. This has been a good sectional game.
And it'll be Zabrecki dribbling out front. All of a sudden, Munster looking a little tentative. They don't want to dribble in there and make a mistake. And here comes Zabrecki. He'll make the mistake if there's one to be made. And he'll grab the ball and he'll dribble on the right side. He'll put it up and he will put it in.
He takes baseline. That was a move he did earlier. He went into center lane off the glass. Munster up by 1 with 1.5 to go.
Long three is put up by Mantis. He misses it. Fought for it. Javon Morris gets the rebound, and then all of a sudden it's taken away. Morris gets it back, and he'll dribble across the timeline.
Munster's up 1. They don't need to score right now. Take a good shot.
Zabrecki right side. Timeout, Munster. Don't go anywhere, people. Facebook, AM, FM, it's everywhere. Brought to you by Community Healthcare Network. Be right back on the voice and face of the region.
Ironworkers Local 395, through their contractor employers, the Northwest Indiana Contractors Association, are the workers you see building Northwest Indiana. They are the craftsmen building your schools, hospitals, malls, steel mills, and manufacturing plants. They support local charities, including Tradewinds and Chasing Dreams, and they coach your kids after work and on the weekend. They live, work, and contribute to all of our local communities' economic growth. To find out more about these organizations, visit ironworkers395.com or nwicontractors.org.
For generations, you've trusted Edgewater Systems to provide compassionate, high-quality care. As the science of behavioral health has evolved, it's revealed the important connection between physical and behavioral health. With this in mind, we're pleased to introduce Edgewater Health, which includes primary care, in addition to our long-standing mental health and addiction services. Whichever combination of services you need, Edgewater Health is here for you for your whole life. Learn more at edgewaterhealth.org.
Eduardo's Natural Pizza in Munster has built a reputation for serving the finest Chicago-style stuffed pizza, loaded with fresh and natural ingredients. Not interested in stuffed pizza? Eduardo's has the best thin crust pizza, appetizers, salads, pastas, and more. Pick up a half-baked pizza from Eduardo's to take home and bake at your convenience. It's the perfect solution for those hectic nights. Eduardo's is located at 7920 Calumet Avenue in Munster. Dine in or carry out by calling 836-2010.
What gets you fired up when you think about college? Explore your roar at Purdue University Northwest. With 2 exciting campuses in Hammond and Westville, more than 70 areas of study, and NCAA Division II athletics, Purdue Northwest offers it all at an excellent value. Learn more at pnw.edu and apply today. That's pnw.edu. Join the pride at Purdue Northwest.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? AM 1230 WJOB in Hammond, Indiana. It's a rainy Thursday morning, first day of March, March 1st, 2018. And they're bringing in March with some wicked wet weather. I came home last night to having some water in my basement. And I get this every couple of years where I got a drain tile on the south end of the house. Everything's going fine, even through the big rains of last week and so forth. And then sometimes that drain tile gets blacked up, and I got to call somebody in to rot out the drain tile. And since I'm so busy right now, it's kind of hard to get somebody in there and meet them. So I think I'm going to have somebody today, see if Dirk Fikema can come over and do his job with that big roto-rooter in the sky. Running some drain tile today. So I was up just pushing water down to the sump pump last night well past midnight after getting home doing both games. So, and I wasn't real happy about it either. I had like the sourpuss going on. Hey, high of 43 degrees today, rain, windy. Winds right now are off the lake at about 15 to 20 miles an hour, and you can just feel it right in your core of your being at this time of year. Say it's 37 degrees here at the Strachan Van Til Studios, where I'll be at a Strachan Van Til on Sunday to be the first one in line to buy some beer in our 201-year history. Something you've never been able to do is buy beer on Sunday legally in Lake County or in the rest of the state of Indiana. So they changed the law yesterday. Governor Holcomb signed it, ready to go on Sunday. So 11:50 somewhere in whichever store Ryan picks, I'll be there and I'll buy it, and I'll Facebook Live buying some Bud Light. Anyways, it's Strachan Van Til Studios here. It is 37 degrees. It's 37 degrees at Ironworkers Local 395 in Portage, and at Munster's Local 41 of the Laborers, it's 38 degrees. It's just a wispy, nasty day. It really is a bad day outside, and this is one day if you can avoid going outside and hanging outside, do that. I saw a number of people walking. I came in just a little bit. Ryan texted me last night around 10 on my way back from Lake Central. I was coming home at around 10 o'clock. And he's like, hey, man, why don't you come in at 6 tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, great. What an idea. I'll get home and maybe watch some TV with the wife. And then I got home and wound up pushing water around for 2.5 hours. So You know what? That's what life brings you. Think you're just going to come home from sectionals and go to bed? That ain't the case. Hey, tomorrow, sunshine and partly cloudy and a high of 42. Saturday, a high of 46, plenty of sunshine. And Sunday, a high of 50 and sunny. Hey, can I get the Times sports section, please? What's that? You don't have it? Okay, well, let me see where it is then. Find it for me. That's not what I asked. If you had it, I asked, where is it? It's right here. I did that. Weather is brought to you by our good friends at CertifiedElectrician.com. If you need electrical work done, hey, have it done by a union-based electrical contractor. Traffic, 294 around the city is a bit heavy, around 55, and maybe a little bit heavy right after Cicero. So that's starting to feel some of the weather right now on 294. If you're going up to O'Hare, a little bit heavy. And then 80 going east and west looks pretty good. The Bishop Ford's the one that's a problem. That starts back, and it starts stop and go before Dalton Avenue, so before the Steel Bridge. Then you got to go all the way across the flatland there, stop and go. So, hey, you know what? Red lights and a garbage dump on the top of the Steel Bridge. The Dan Ryan, though, once you get there, isn't really that bad. The Skyway and the Toll Road and the Borman I-65, you know what? Those are all moving along pretty doggone well. 219-845-1100. I'd like to hear from you guys if you guys have something going on. You know, there was one I wanted to hit in Gary at IUN. They had a I don't know how you do this, and I had not heard of this group in Gary, but homicides are up again in Gary already. So in 2018, and I think we're getting about a murder a week in Gary. And that's not abnormal. It's right around there. A murder a week in a city of that size. I mean, let's see. Gary is, around 78,000. Hammond's bigger. Can you imagine if Hammond had a murder a week? I don't even know. I don't know. Let me guess. There was maybe 12 homicides in Hammond in last year. Maybe not even that many. Let's see. All right, let's put together the population of Gary. Gary is a 78. Let's say it's 75,000. Let's say Cherville's 35,000, and St. John at maybe 7, and then Dyer at maybe 15 or so. So you're talking about 57, maybe 55,000 in the three towns. So what if we said, let's see, Crown Point's maybe 25, something like that. So what if you put together Crown Point, Cherville, St. John, and Dyer? Okay, that's probably 100,000 or closer. But say you put those 4 communities together, Crown Point, Cherville, St. John, and Dyer, and you had a murder a week in those communities. A murder a week. How many murders in those 4 communities together do you think there was in 2017? My guess is maybe 5, something like that, maybe 6. So maybe once a quarter versus once a week, and that's a big difference. So with that kind of violence going on in Gary still, I mean, you're 9 weeks in, you got 9 murders, all right? Last year, there were 48 homicides. In the year, and in, 55 in 2013. So maybe we're averaging about a murder a week in Gary. So how do you get known gang members to come to an assembly? Here's what I was reading this out of the Times. I'm like, wow, this is A, kind of cool, and B, I would like to know some of the practical implications and how it really came down. But here it is. 17 known gang members or associates on parole were brought in Wednesday to Indiana University Northwest. That's last night. They're given 2 choices. Accept the city's help and turn your life around, or continue a life of crime and watch how quickly law enforcement targets whichever gang next drops a body in Gary. So they were there as part of the Gary for Life initiative. It is a holistic anti-crime initiative. Now, the Gary for Life program relies on local, state, and federal partnerships by coupling targeted enforcement actions in high crime areas to reduce gang violence with mentoring, employment assistance, and youth violence prevention strategies. One aspect of the program, dubbed Call-ins, played out Wednesday when 17 known gang members were invited to hear what Gary for Life had to offer. Only invited people could go in. They shut the doors promptly at 6 p.m. And, wow, that's weird because I don't know. I imagine that the gang members wouldn't go for this idea. First of all, how do you, I mean, I guess if you're on parole, would you, I guess a parole officer can give you extra points, or I don't know how they would use that to dangle in front of you. But during the call-in, 16 men and 1 woman sat in the front rows at IUN. Now, Shalonda Ham, a Gary mother who lost 2 sons to gun violence, shared her stories. All right, here's what she says. 2 sons in one day. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, and I'm still grieving, Ham said. My message to you is put the guns down, find a job, learn a trade. Put your mothers in my shoes. Your mother doesn't want to face nothing like I faced. Few of the men raised their hands when Ham asked if any were fathers. My son had a son. I'm raising my grandchild with the help of his mother now. You all don't want your son to grow up without you. An ex-gang member shared his story of redemption, and as part of the Gary for Life program, authorities make up the multi-agency gang unit, carries out targeted enforcement. All right, whoever's gang commits a homicide next after Wednesday's meeting will be the next group targeted, Gary Commander Jack Hamady warned. Now, you all notice that in Hammond, the feds were able to make some big arrests recently of the Jackson Avenue gang, the Jackson gang, and that was right around the corner here at, say, 6200 Jackson Street in Hammond. Where is that exactly? You know where, I don't know, where Calumet Avenue and 165th cross each other? That is where White Castle's is, right? Is that, yeah, 165th, and then you just go a little bit to the west, and then you go a little bit to the north on Jackson. Jackson's probably 3 or 4 streets down. You hang right. And then you go down there, and they had a number of houses where these guys lived next to each other, and they arrested them, and they've got one of the men that were associated with this Jackson Street gang as the one who killed Lauren Calvillo. We haven't talked about that in a while. Kind of came and went, but the feds picked somebody up, and then they charged the guy with the murder of the woman that was standing on the porch. The girl, she was a sophomore at Hammond High, ushering the kids in, and she got shot. I still haven't heard that much on motive or anything on that one. It just kind of went dry in terms of news. All right, what's going on in your guys' world? 219-845-1100. Speaking of the Times, I want to say congratulations to Steve Hanlon for writing a pretty good article. He wrote an article basically just kind of having a sweet memory about the old Calumet sectional at Calumet High School when it was one class basketball. I played in that thing and went to that thing many times. My little brother played in that sectional, and it had a certain sweetness to it. I don't know why around here, I don't know as if we've ever really been able to duplicate the feeling of that old Calumet sectional when, let's say, in the 70s and in the 80s, mostly just the 70s. And you had 8 teams that would come on there from Crown Point to Highland, Munster to Griffith, Central, and you had, gosh, I can't even remember who else was in there. Well, Calumet. All right, who played in the Calumet sectional? All right, let me write this down. Calumet, Griffith, and Highland, and Munster. Okay, now I remember that Crown Point was in it, and I want to say that Lake Central was in it, but I can't be sure of that. Okay, maybe Maryville. Was Maryville in that? Maybe Maryville was in that. So who else would have been in it? Because all the Hammond schools went up to the East Chicago sectional, if I remember correctly. So EC had like EC Roosevelt and Washington, and then they had Tech, Hammond High, Gavitt, Morton, Clark. That would have been 7, right? Tech and Bishop Knoll. That would have been 7. 5 Hammond schools and 2 EC schools. Maybe Whiting was in it too. So that would have been 8-team sectional up there. So there had to be one other team here. Calumet, Griffith, Highland, Munster, Crown Point, Lake Central, Maryville. Who else was in that sectional? Oh, it was always an 8-team sectional. Andrean went out east. Give me an idea who would have been the 8th team in that set. Oh, Lowell. No, maybe it was Lowell. Maybe it was, I don't know. Anybody? All right, who can name all 8 teams of the old Calumet sectional? Come on, 219-845-1100. All right, hold on a second. Lake Central. Oh, I forgot Calumet. Yeah, I do have Calumet. The 4 ridge communities. Calumet, Griffith, Highland, Munster. All right, all along Ridge Road, okay? Then you go straight south, and you'd have Lake Central, Crown Point, and Maryville. There's one other team that played in that, and I can't think of it. 219-845-1100. And I'd like to hear from you guys. Anything else you want to talk about? I don't have that much on. I was out late doing the games. I got home and bailed water out of my basement. So on a rare morning when I didn't look at anything, it's up to you guys to help me through at 219-845-1100. And let's go to Jim on local 599 phone line. Jim.
It was Lake Station Edison.
Lake Station Edison played in the I don't remember that.
Yeah, they were the tiny school in the field that everybody everybody kind of wanted to get unless they had a loaded team, but they were always the smallest group in the field.
Wait a second. All right, so let me see if I got them all right. Okay, Calumet, Griffith, Highland, Munster. You got your 4 ridge communities. You got just to the south and just to the east, Crown Point, Lake Central, Maryville. Why in God's name would Lake Station come all the way over there when Andrean was way closer?
I'll give you 5 letters. IHSAA.
Well, they're my new friend now that I cut a deal with them. By the way, I cut a deal with the IHSAA, which is not easy to do to get all these games on video. So, all right, here's another one for you then. Who played in the East Chicago sectional back in the day?
Couldn't tell you. I'm a wrestling coach. I just know I had to watch those teams play sometimes to put mats down afterwards.
Oh, you were at Calumet.
Yeah. I was a kid when I was a teacher there as well for a long time until they went class and started moving things around.
What was Carl Treikoff like?
He was a spectacular human being. He was, the people that know him, he was a much better teacher than he was a coach.
What did he teach?
He taught health, and he taught a class that he kind of built himself. And, today you would call it current issues, I guess. But he called it current issues in life. And he made kids keep a folder of all of their paperwork. There are 50, 60-year-old men out here and women that still have those blue notebook folders that Carl Treikoff made them hold because they loved his class so dearly, and they learned a heck of a lot in his class.
Is he still alive? Is he still alive?
No, Carl passed a few years ago.
Oh, that's too bad, man. That's one of those interviews I would have loved to have had before he died.
Yeah, he was something else, and he came back and coached a year when we had a changeover, and Carl came back for a year, and probably I think he coached a team that had more wins than any in all of his years at Calumet. He had a team that had 17 wins the year he came back in 07 or 08.
And if you guys are newer to the area, you moved over from Illinois, or you're just younger, or you didn't follow it back in the day, Carl Treikoff was the head basketball coach at Calumet High School, but he was a lot more than that. He's kind of a larger-than-life guy. But one of the things that was neat to note is where Carl Treikoff sat on the bleachers in the bottom row, he would get so excited sometimes that he would just jam his feet back to the bleachers, and they were made of wood. So there was chipped wood in a big spot where you could tell where Carl Treikoff sat.
Yeah, and he'd shoot on a towel most of the time to keep from getting 14 technical fouls in a game.
Yeah, he was very vocal to the referees. And he actually,
but they loved him too.
You know what?
Because afterwards, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of after the game. He was relatively mild-mannered when he came down.
This his right-hand man was Cross. What's Cross's first name?
Willie.
Willie Cross.
And Willie's still coaching with the young coach that's there now. He's still on the staff.
Wow, that's crazy. Willie, you know what? That's an interview we're got to get next week, Brian. See if we can get Willie Cross, and we'll talk a little old basketball. But Willie Cross was with Trikoff for a long time, and Willie's brother, I think, he had a little brother.
Yeah, he's about our age. He was Sid. He was a heck of an outside shooter.
Yes, he was a really good player, and so I played against Sid Cross growing up and through the grade schools and stuff. So I got to know Carl Trikoff just a little bit, and he would do something that coaches don't really do anymore. Since I had kind of known him because he knew Willie and Willie's little brother, and he would talk to you during the game. And he would kind of yell at you, or he would make fun of you, or I don't think referees would allow that now. But he would say stuff like, "You traveled on that last one, you know that, don't you?" And just kind of like trying to get in your head directly to the player, which really isn't a bad tactic once you think about it.
Yeah, I just remember those crowds. They used to pack that place to the rafters. Those 8 teams would come in there, and I mean, it was so loud. And you don't see a gym that loud now at that early level of the tournament. You don't see it until you get down to the big tournaments.
I got to tell you, I think, hey, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Talk to you. And thanks a lot, Jim. I got to tell you that, one of the reasons, I know you guys think that I'm full of BS, but one of the reasons that I was so adamant about saying, hey, listen, let's get these things on in video. Ramirez kind of thought the same thing from Region Sports, because the interest is waning just a little bit on high school basketball in general. And to me, it's not the product. It's the fact that the games aren't on TV, basically. And you think, well, that's counterintuitive. If you're going to put it on TV, then people aren't going to go. And that is wrong in my mind. In that if you don't make the product available and basically advertise the product, which is high school basketball, put it on people's phones where they go now, then they're not going to know that there's a game. They're not going to know the players. They're not going to see the excitement, and they're not going to be drawn to the games. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. I've got like 4 different things that I'm trying to experiment with here by putting these games on and doing this big hullabaloo of video that you guys can get every night. And one of those is to see if we can't be part of a resurgence of energy and interest in high school basketball. I mean, Indiana, when you say Indiana, first thing that people think if you go to California or you go to New York is high school basketball. That's just what it is. And we, I don't know as if we highlight that as much. It's a pure thing that goes on around here. And if you watched the game last night, you watched the Munster-Lowell game, that was it. As Kuziak said in that last clip we played, he goes, this is just what Indiana high school basketball is all about. And people were cheering, and there was a little chippiness between one of the Lowell football players and kind of pushing around a thinner Munster guy. But, that's all part of the game. And it really was a beautiful scene. It wasn't as beautiful when I got home and had to bail water out of my basement, but you know what? That's a different story altogether. So that's the point, is you got to highlight this stuff. Let's see what Toll Road has to say. Toll Road, what are you going to add to this?
I remember the last game that was the before class basketball came, 44,000 at the Hoosier Dome to see the finals. And then we decided to basically water down the entire league because, we all got to, Johnny's got to win a trophy. Johnny's got to win a championship. Well, the sectional championship was like basically winning a state championship. You come out of some of those sectionals and you were basically king of the hill. The East Chicago sectional, the Gary sectional. And you had regionals that were just amazing. And you go back in time, once in a blue moon, Channel 56 would carry a premier game on obviously a tape delay, but where you're seeing every team in the region's got at least 1, 2, 3 Division I players back in the heyday. And I think that the 4 classes we've got?
Yes.
I think 4 classes is too many. I think they got to do it to 2 classes. They have to have big schools and little schools, and then have the championship where the 2 class teams play each other.
Is the class system even really working in basketball? I saw that somebody wrote an article the other day in one of the papers, and I had been talking about this before, and that you can have a really small school like Lighthouse or Bowman, and are they really a Class A or a Class 2A school? Because they can take from all over, and then you've got little communities like Couts or Lake Station. They have to get inside their borders. So I don't know if the class system really doesn't accommodate for private schools taking from all over the place.
It's not even that. You can't find a school that can find 10 guys to play. I don't care how big you are. 10 people, that's all you need. This isn't like football where you need 30, 40 guys. And I get that, You got a Lake Central that's got 5,000, 6,000 people going there, or 3,000, or whatever that population is.
3,500.
You got a huge pool of talent to pull from. Whereas you have a school of 500, you don't have that. But we're not talking 30 guys; we're talking 10.
Yeah, but the numbers don't lie, and Whiting is never going to win an East Chicago 1-class basketball sectional. They may have done it, I think, once or twice back in the day, but they're just never going to do it. Neither is Lake Station or River Forest or even for Bishop Knoll. I mean, it's hard, even though you are the private school and are able to take from a big area. It's just going to be hard to compete with Lake Central and East Chicago Central. Just aren't going to be able to do it on a regular basis.
Well, I still think class basketball is, and they wonder what the problem is. The problem is you've basically liquidated it down. It used to be something when you went downstate. It used to be something when you got to a semi-state. It used to be something when you went to a regional. Sectionals were basically, you get out of the sectional, it's huge. And you go to these sectionals. I remember going to the East Chicago sectional when I was in high school, attending Knoll. I mean, even the early games, the place was packed to the rafters. Now,
I don't think that's the problem. I don't think that it's just class. I honestly think a big factor of it is that the games aren't on TV, one way or another.
Well, I mean, you didn't have that back in the day, Jim.
No, you didn't have it, but you had so many. Yeah, but you see, now it's different. Now it's different in that people expect the things that they interact with to be on their phone. And high school basketball has not been on people's phones. That was my whole point. I'm like, Bobby, come on, man. We got to get this on people's phones up here because it's really it's fading away in interest up here. We got to get it on people's phones.
Is it going to help expose it more? Absolutely. I don't disagree with that part of it. But you go back in the 70s when you had stud teams out of Gary and East Chicago and Hammond, and you go to games on a Friday night, and there was, 3,000, 4,000 people there. And the reason why is because one of the reasons why is you don't have all this competition from the college game. Now the college game's on Friday nights.
But what's so different about the college game? What's so different about the college game and the high school game around here?
Well, you're just competing. You're competing for the crowds.
Yeah, but the big difference is that every college game is on TV. And that has brought, in my mind, an affinity with people start watching what is Purdue? Do you think we would be covering Purdue and Matt Painter without watching every game on the Big Ten Network? No way. If we had to listen to those on the radio, we'd never have that kind of closeness with the team.
And I'm just use Purdue, for instance, because that's where I went. The stadiums were always filled because, you've got 30,000 people on campus and a majority of students are going to go.
And there's nothing to do there.
It was easy to get 15,000 people there.
Well, it's in the middle of Indiana in the middle of winter. There's not a lot else to do. I mean, I think that you're placing too much emphasis on class basketball, and I hear that from a lot of different people.
I think the purists like myself, when they did that, I'm like, okay, it's going to take a long time to get it back, because the purists still think in their minds, you guys ruined the, what's the word I'm looking for? The mystique of the tournament. A small school could break through and get, possibly get downstate and play in a championship. I mean, Knoll was in a big school in 1988, and they made it to the Final Four.
That is a very good part of this. Hoosiers, the whole movie was based on the little guy competing with the big guy, and everybody likes that story, but year after year going to a sectional and getting beat by 45 points. Well, I mean, think about Valparaiso. Valparaiso had that sectional, and then they'd have Couts and Knox and La Crosse and all these little bitty schools coming into the Valparaiso sectional, and Valpo would just win it every year, and these little schools would get beat by 50 points. What fun is that?
But you're getting into the whole thing, Johnny's got to win a trophy.
No, Johnny.
It's not about Johnny winning a trophy.
Okay, Johnny, go to a little school where you never have a chance to win your sectional.
It is what it is. There's winners and there's losers. That's what happens. That's how the game's played.
You're mixing apples and oranges here. It's not about Johnny winning a trophy.
Yes, it is. That's why this thing was broken up in the 4 classes.
All right, I got to go. Ryan's going crazy. I'll be right back. All right, guys, stay on the line. I'll be right to you.
Did you know that Hammond, Indiana is having their first annual St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 17th at 1 p.m.? The parade route extends from 173rd Street in Kennedy to 161st Street. Please join us. We are going green, and don't forget to stop in at Freddy's Steakhouse, located at 6442 Kennedy Avenue on the corner of 165th Street, for a special appearance of the Shriners Pipes and Drums at 4 p.m. Stay for dinner. We'll be serving corned beef and cabbage and a green bar. For more information, please call Freddy's Steakhouse 219-844-1500. Hammond's St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 17th.
Carpenters Local 599 joins with other Carpenter locals to build the local economy and has been doing so for over 117 years. We are proud to be a member of the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio Regional Council of Carpenters, which is threefold: training, professionalism, and partnership. We also offer some of the best benefits in the industry. To find out how to become a member of Carpenters Local 599, contact us at 219-942-0518 or log on to ikorcc.com.
Men, are you taking Viagra or Cialis for ED? ED should not stand for expensive drugs. If you're taking Viagra, talk with your doctor about Sildenafil. Now you could get the same active ingredient in Viagra in generic 20 milligram tablets for less than $2 each, saving over $30 per dose. Available at Vito's Pharmacy. Call us 219-228-7200 or visit us at vitospharmacy.com.
Vito's Pharmacy.
I'm going to play this next spot right on the back of Sildenafil just because I got a feeling that more than once in history, these two things have gone together. Sildenafil and
Theo's Steak and Seafood sets the standard of fine dining excellence. Delicious USDA prime meats and steaks, along with the freshest seafood in the area. Celebrate your special event with friends, family, and associates in our private dining room that can seat up to 125 people. For information, call 838-8000 or theoshighland.com. Also visit our other restaurants, Prime Steakhouse, Umi Sushi and Lounge in Crown Point, and Ted's Family Restaurant in Calumet City.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Hey, see what I'm saying? You go to Theo's, and you're a little bit older, and then you meet another gal who's a little bit older, and next thing you know, you're reaching into your nightstand. Anyways, what do you have? 294 around the city looks good. 80 going east and west looks pretty good. Bishop Ford is Dalton Avenue on up through the merge is bad, so watch the Bishop Ford, almost to stay off the Bishop Ford. And Skyway Toll Road, Barman, I-65, US 30, Klein Avenue, all moving along pretty well. Aranya pora honya hiska, holam honya pora fkonyeshko monyelanye. And there you go. Traffic is brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. And what do you have on the weather? All you got to do is look outside or walk outside and just know. And you go, here's what you're going to say when you first walk out facing the north. I walked in the parking lot here, and I was going south. And then I realized I forgot something in my car, and I had to walk back out to the car. And I was facing into that north wind, and it just blows right through you, and it makes your face wet and your socks wet. And life sucks, then you die. Rain mixing with maybe a little bit of snow later, and very breezy, wispy, nasty day. Right now it's 37 degrees here at the Strachan Van Til Studios on the campus of New Newport West. And by the way, at Strax, they have red ripe strawberries for 99 cents, one of those packages. Also, 73% lean ground beef, $1.69. Tonight it gets down to about 30 degrees. That's why you might see some snow. Tomorrow, say a high around 42 degrees, but sunny. Sunny on Saturday, plenty of sunshine, high of 46. And Sunday, a high of 50 and sunny. And weather is brought to you by our good friends at Laborers Local 41. I'm a proud alum of that fine union. And as you guys well know, I did games on Tuesday night and Wednesday night on Facebook Live and on the radio, actually. And so I'm going to rely on you guys to tell me what to do for the next 10 or 12 minutes until Dave Gladish comes in. So let's talk to Jamie on line 3. Jamie, how you handling this nasty day?
It's spring, right, or whatever, close to it. But I think that what the problem with the basketball is, I think there should be 3 classes: big school, small school, private school, and I think that's all sports. Because if you look at it when you get downstate, all the schools that are dominated are all these small private schools. I mean, you got schools like Whiting having to compete against Indianapolis Brabant or one of these small Catholic schools that just takes all the talent out of all of Indy, or Lafayette Central Catholic. So I think that's where the problem is, I think, in all those sports.
Well, you bring up a good point, and that a lot of the smaller public schools aren't real happy that teams like Andrean and teams like Gary Lighthouse and Bowman and some of the charter schools. And you're right, Lafayette Central Catholic, there's a lot of friction in Lafayette because Central Catholic will take people out of West Lafayette and even out of the surrounding areas, people that would go to McCutcheon and stuff like that, and they bring them into Central Catholic, and Central Catholic's down there almost in every sport these days, playing for the state championship. Are they 1A or 2A now? I think they got bumped up to 2, even though they're only a 1A size because of all their success.
Yeah, that's the thing. They thought that was a good way of bumping these schools up, but that's all it's doing. Once you're a power, people want to go to you, so it don't matter if they bump you up or not. You're still going to compete.
So what do you want? So what are private schools around here? What would a private school sectional have? Like 6 schools in it. That's it. And then there maybe be 80 schools in the state that are private schools that could, go for a state championship. Is that being fair to private schools?
How many actual 1A schools are there in the whole state?
I don't know. I think there's around 300. It's like around 330 in the tournament. So if you just break it up into 4 classes, you're probably at about 85 a class.
Yeah. So
I guess you're right. I mean, that may be about the right number. But is that fair to private schools? They're members of IHSA. They got to pay the fee.
They are, but is it fair that they get to take kids from every community around here and build a powerhouse?
What if you go the other way? There are no rules. Kids can go to any school they want, and you can't penalize them for transferring. You can't make them sit out a year if they transfer.
Well, hey, look at wrestling. They made that poor kid sit out all last year that won state this year for Portage because his family moved from Crown Point to Portage. He took second the year before he had to sit out. He lost 1 whole year of eligibility because his family moved. And then he went state this year. So is that fair? Because his family moves?
If you ask me, the transfer laws of the IHSA are not fair, and they're arbitrary. But that's a whole other issue. I don't know as if you can do that much to the class basketball and the class football, and there's classes in some of the other sports. I don't know if you can do that much to the class system.
Yeah, I just think the Catholic and private school is what's ruining the whole system. Anyway.
So there's your anti-Catholic bent.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's a private school too. Look at Bowman.
What do you have against Catholic people?
Nothing. I am Catholic.
So what do you have against yourself?
Nothing. I just don't think it's fair.
I think
that it's recruiting.
I'm hearing anti-Catholic sentiment in your voice, Jim.
Okay.
Talk to you. I got to go by. Hey, let's see how Eric's doing. Eric, are you going to show anti-Catholic sentiment?
No, not at all. But I am going to agree with the gentleman who talked about class basketball ruining the playoff system. I definitely agree with, I think, everything he said. But I do have some other points that maybe, it's hard to get it all out. For one thing, when you have 4 classes or 6 classes, like in football, the neighboring towns that used to play each other in the playoffs, they don't do it anymore because one of them's a 2A and one of them's a 3A or 4 and 5A. And that also detracts from the importance of a sectional tournament, if you will. Back in the day, right, the good old days, every team didn't make the playoffs. You had a lot less teams per class or per state that played in the playoffs. Only the teams that finished with a reasonable record perhaps made the playoffs. That was an accomplishment of the regular season. Now the regular season doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. It's a good opportunity to try new things, to test new things, obviously to play freshmen perhaps. But it's meaningless. That's another distraction from the playoff system the way we have it today. Every team makes it. Now that you got every team making it, and you have to divide them up into 4 or 6 classes, depending on what sport you're talking about, you water down, just like the gentleman spoke about, you water down the athletics, but you also take away that town-town rivalry. The 2 towns that are next to each other, but one high school might have a slightly more students than the other. In the old days, they used to play each other in the sections. And now they don't, because one is 4 and the other is 3. And that also helps distract away from the importance of a playoff. And then lastly, I'm sorry to take up so much time. The last part is the gentleman just before me spoke about private schools is a better way to put it. Travel sports, private sports, AAU basketball. That's where you go to see the real talent. You can see them play on their high school team. There's no doubt about it. But scouts don't go to high school games too much anymore, do they? They wait till those very talented individuals go to their AAU team and play with 4, 5, 6 other very talented guys and girls, and that's where they scout. So even the scouts don't go to high school games anymore because they've lost their importance. There's more than one factor hurting high school basketball.
Well, let's talk about scouts. Let's talk about scouts and recruitment. And honestly, just to come back to making the product a better thing. So let's look at boys high school basketball. You have to put it out for scouts to be able to see your stuff very easily. And the schools that recognized this 4 or 5 years ago are having higher rates of scholarships because they videoed out there, and these scouts will watch these videos and see what they can see on these kids. And to some extent, I agree with you. You got to bring the scouts back to the games also because that's part of the game. I mean, kids know when they're there, and it raises the elevation of it. But I don't know. First of all, I think it's always been in high school basketball that you get in a tournament no matter what your record was. In Illinois, it's different, but in Indiana, you've always been able to get in there. I just don't know. I don't think that everybody that's talking today is thinking about the little schools that get pounded for many years. Let me give you a stat, okay? Ryan just looked it up. From 1957 to 70, Valparaiso won their sectional every time but one. And then they won it again for another 14 years and through the 70s and 80s. And the only persons that beat them then both those times was Chesterton. All those little schools around Valpo never had a chance, and now they do. What do you tell them?
Well, in the old days, little schools played in a sectional. They played all the other little schools around them. Some of those little schools were a little bigger than them. Let's make up a school that's a single A school. The likelihood of a single A school butting up borders next to a 4A school is less likely than a 1A school bordering up to a 2A school. I think a majority of the 1A schools in the state are sitting in and around 2A and 3A schools. And yes, you're right.
That is not the case anymore. There have been so many county schools. There have been so many large a lot of times there's one big school, like say in the middle of Kokomo, and then you got all these little schools around Kokomo, and then the one Kokomo, Hayworth, I think it was, would win their sectional every year, and all these little schools never had a chance. And the same thing around Fort Wayne. You have all these little schools around it, and then it was dominated by the 2 or 3 city schools. Granted, in Fort Wayne, they did have some of the smaller schools playing each other, but typically there's 1 or 2 dominant schools in an area, and then you got all these ancillary schools. And that Valpo was a very good example of it. They won almost every year. All those other 7 schools didn't have a chance.
So I tell you, as we watch the movie Hoosiers every 2 or 3 years at my house, and my son, and usually brings over a couple friends, occasionally a friend that's never seen the movie before shows up, and me and my son, we watch it probably 10 times in our life. The other kids that see the movie say, hey, why don't we do it that way anymore? And then we talk about all the things that you and I are talking about now and what other listeners are talking about. But in the end, those kids that sitting at my living room watching a movie, they say, man, that is a great movie. I've never seen it before, and it's awesome. And there is a romanticism about it.
Yeah, well, romanticism is hard to explain to a kid who plays for lacrosse or Oregon Davis. Hold on a second. All right, let me give you another great story. I went down there when Oregon Davis went down there to the state championship game. That whole community was on a high, and they took the buses down there, and everybody was part of it. It was Class 1A, but it was still the same thing. They would never, ever get that community would never have that. All those lake rats around, what's that little lake by Oregon Davis? And they would never get that opportunity if you had class basketball. And everybody you see, that's the problem. Hoosiers movie is the problem when it comes to class basketball. Everybody got this romantic Gene Hackman ideal in their head. They don't think about the 280 schools every year that knew they were going to lose going into the sectional. I'm sorry, I got to go. Hey, did I need to take one more? Who was waiting? Eric was waiting. Eric, that was Eric. All right, guys, I'll be right back. AM 1230, WJOB in Hammond, Indiana. I'm taking this last one. Line 2. And here we go. Hey, what's going on, Dave?
Hey, I just want to say something real quick. In regards to, everyone talks about recruiting. Mount Carmel, sure, they take, a couple here, a couple there. But ever since the introduction of open enrollment, I think it's curtailed. I mean, I'd like your opinion on it. I feel that it's curtailed that a lot in regards to recruiting. And in regards to Hoosiers, that was one of the big gifts at the Haven House Bowl-a-thon was a autographed poster of Bobby Flum. That was very cool, and it went for a lot of money. So there's I'd like to hear your comment in regards to the open enrollment comment, how it cut down recruiting, except Mount Carmel. You get one of the big ones that has some deep pockets. But,
all right, let me talk about Mount Carmel. All right, got it. First of all, that I have that same signed thing, but it's Bobby Plump and his 3 other guys from Hickory. It wasn't Hickory. It was Milan, Indiana, right there by the Ohio border. You could see the exit off of I-70 as you're going into Ohio. That was the basis for the Hoosiers movie. And Fox, a local guy who's Horning's best buddy, I interviewed Bobby Plump about 6 months ago, and he gave me that signed piece. And so I think I'm going to meet the guy soon. And, he's certainly part of our history and so forth. It's romanticized way too much, and Hoosiers has given rise to a lot of guys like that last caller that want to watch the movie and go back to those days. Great, it happened, but it's over. I'm sorry, we're not going to go back. All those little schools got peed on for all those years, and now they have a chance to bring state championships. I was in. Gladys will tell you, his associate Kim is an OD person, Lake Rat, and that whole community, when they went down and won the state, it was a great thing. And you get rid of class basketball, that'll never happen. But I do want to talk about Mount Carmel, and as a Catholic and well ingrained into both major local public schools, I have the bishop on here and so forth. I'm appalled at the tactics of Mount Carmel High School in Chicago and what they're doing in Northwest Indiana and some of the promises that they're making to kids. And, they got a bus that runs right through Lake County, and you can go take – who's texting me? Mad Mac, relax, will you? Doing that. The bus comes right up and goes – I think it goes up 41, and then it takes all these kids to Mount Carmel. And I just want to know if anybody has anything they want to send me about the recruiting that Mount Carmel may be doing and how they're doing it, because if you're doing it into another state and they have problems with it, like say Mount Carmel's in Illinois and you're doing it into Indiana, you really don't have any enforcement options. They're not part of your organization. They're part of the IHSA, not the IHSAA. So I'm just hearing stuff about what's going on there, and I want to know if anybody has anything. None of it's, I'm not verified. I've just been told it by parents. And part of that is that they're taking good kids away from Bishop Nolan and Andrean, and they're using it as a farm system out here. And I want to know what it is to entice those kids to leave the farm. How's that sound, huh? Ryan Walsh, we got a bunch of sports today. Tell us what it is.
Quick Johnny's Tap update here for the sports scene. Today we've got 4 games on the radio from the Big Ten tournament. 10:45 pregame show, 11 o'clock tip-off, Wisconsin and Maryland. Around 1:30, it'll be Michigan and Iowa. We're going to have a shortened Ron Harlow afternoon fix today. 5:15 pregame show for Penn State and Northwestern. Their tip-off at 5:30. At the nightcap, we'll get to Don Fisher around 8 o'clock with the IU and Rutgers game. Join me tonight at Johnny's Tap for the game. On Facebook, live tonight, it's NJCAA basketball, number 11 ranked Southbourne College. They play Oakton. It's a 6:30 tip-off. You can watch it on our Facebook page. Chicago Blackhawks are back in action tonight. They play at 9 o'clock out at the San Jose Sharks. One last thing. You had Sam and me look it up. If you did like a private or charter school sectional bracket, we'd have 21st Century from Gary, Lighthouse from Gary, Bowman Academy, BNI and Drain, Covenant Christian, and Marquette here in the area.
He's Ryan Walsh.
That's a darn good sectional.
He's putting together all this sports. Community Healthcare Network presents all these games today. There's a number of people who signed to sponsor both Indiana high school basketball on the video. And like I said, I think there's a number of reasons it needs to be on video. And we also, the same folks are sponsoring the Big Ten tournament. We're able to pick that up. And we've got all the games here, and that all is on Ryan Walsh. Way to go, Ryan.
You look thirsty, and Turning Glass looks thirsty. See you at Johnny's tonight, 8 o'clock, IU Rutgers.
Talk to you.
I'm Barbara Gadarian Muckle, Executive Director of Excel to Fitness, Northwest Indiana. Excel to Fitness is a 6-week program serving boys 3rd through 6th grade. This program is for every boy. The 12-session curriculum creates an interactive experience using speed, strength, agility, balance, and cardio while embedding character through teamwork, leadership, and goal setting. Join Excel to Fitness this season at your school, church, or recreational center. Registration begins March 12th. Contact me at 219-595-XCEL or exceltofitness.com/Northwest Indiana.
Do you have or are you at high risk for cardiovascular disease, also known as CVD or heart disease? Are you unable to take statin medications due to side effects? You may be eligible for a clinical research study being conducted to test the safety and effectiveness of an investigational medication that may help to reduce the occurrence of major CVD events, such as heart attacks and strokes, for patients with or at risk for CVD who are also statin intolerant. To qualify, you must be at least 18 years of age, have a history of or are at high risk for CVD, have not been able to tolerate 2 or more statins, and meet additional study criteria. Qualified participants will receive all study medication and study-related care from a dedicated team of medical staff at no cost. Health insurance is not required to participate. To find out more and to see if you qualify, call Cardiovascular Research of Northwest Indiana, LLC at 219-203-1990. That's 219-203-1990. Call now. 219-203-1990.
When you're in the dark, where do you turn to find a trusted professional who can assure the safety of your home or business electrical system? Certified Electrician is here to help. Looking for a highly skilled electrical contractor for your next construction project? CertifiedElectrician.com is where to find one. We connect you with pre-screened electrical professionals living right here in Northwest Indiana. Experts in residential, commercial, voice data video, and signage. Certified Electrician can fulfill all your electrical needs. Visit CertifiedElectrician.com.
Ogren Insurance has been serving the area since 1947 and provides insurance for life, home, auto, business, and more. If you're looking for one-on-one service, the best rates, knowledge, and experience, Ogren Insurance is your agency. Our number one goal is to provide you with the coverage you need at the most competitive price. To learn about the insurance solutions and services we offer in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or see our website, OgrenInsurance.com. Ogren Insurance, 6929 Holman Avenue in Hammond. Accidents happen. Be protected with Ogren Insurance.
Hey, what's going on? 734 in the Calumet region. And let's take a look at traffic. 294 around the city is bad from Cicero on up past 5580 going east and west. Looks good. The Bishop Ford in the southern part of the Dan Ryan are bad, just like 294. And that starts at Sibley all the way up to 67th Street, so hallelujah on that. Skyway, Toll Road, Borman, and I-65 are all moving along pretty well. And traffic's brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda. And taking a look at weather, brought to you by Carpenter's Local 599 right across the city here since 1899. High of 43 today, rain moving with some snow and breezy, and I don't know what you got. It's got a nasty day is really what you have going on. As then it gets down to about 30 degrees overnight, and then some of this turns to snow. I'm especially in a nasty mood about the nasty weather, and then I was bailing water last night when I got back home from the sectionals. So it is what it is, and but luckily that's going to end by tomorrow morning, and we'll get sunshine and patchy clouds tomorrow, high of 42. And then a high of 46 on Saturday. Dave Gladish, board-certified attorney, comes in and talks with us every other Thursday. How you been?
Good.
Been a while, huh? 2 weeks? Has it only been 2 weeks?
It goes by fast.
It's sectional time, and we don't really think about anything else during this week, so I'm glad that you did the prep this morning.
Well, I wanted to go to the game last night. Patrick Graciano's son plays for Lake Central, and I intended on going to the game, but I have a mock trial I'm doing on Saturday, so my opportunity to go was taken away because of other time commitments.
So who do you know, the Graciano's parents?
Correct.
Okay.
Andrea and Hector.
Andrea and Hector Graciano.
Correct.
Do I know them?
I'm sure you've met them probably at my house for something. I'm
yeah,
sure.
Okay. I didn't realize that Hector was his dad.
Yes.
I've met Hector.
Yes.
Yes, I know. Wow.
Very good people.
And Hector is their best player. He's averaging 17 points a game. He is a really good basketball player.
Solid kid.
Solid in a lot of different ways. He's
Correct.
a solid, like he's a little wider body, and he was able to use his strength last night to kind of push around wispier Crown Point thin players. They had a lot of thin players on Crown Point, and Graciano is just a big guy.
Yeah, he's a thick kid.
And man, they just get the ball to him, and he's just like, all right, move. He'd inch into him again. Next thing you know, he's shooting a layup because the guys can't push back on him.
Like Wisconsin's, usually they get a couple good point guards and a bunch of big, tall, thick guys, and that's how Wisconsin is good year in and year out in basketball.
Too bad it's not working for them, but
not this year though.
Not this year, but I will tell you this: we will have the Wisconsin game on at what is that? 1:30. 11 o'clock, Wisconsin plays right here on WJOB AM 1230 and 104.7 in the Big Ten tournament. Dave Gladish is in the house. Gladys was a wrestler, not a basketball player. But Gladys, do you happen to have an opinion on class basketball?
You know what? I see both sides to it, and I agree with what some of the callers were mentioning, that you have that romantic view of history, and Bobby Plum was on these airwaves, and that story is just something that everyone loves to watch in reference to the Hoosier movie. But the reality is the reality, and I agree with what you say. If you come out of the gate and you have no chance of ever being in real competition, maybe 4 is too many, but 1 is too few.
There you go. Good analysis by a good lawyer. And Gladys, I know you got stuff in front of you. You've done the homework. Talk to us. What's going on?
Well, first I'd like to mention and congratulate a local school, Maryville. Their mock court team was in competition at the federal courthouse here. I think it was a week ago or so, or no, it was 2 Saturdays ago, and they won the regionals. It's the first time that Maryville's won. I've actively participated with those students in getting them ready, and they're going to the state competition this weekend, so I want to congratulate them on their victory and wish them well downstate. Last year was the first year that they went downstate. I think Harlow's going to have them on the air later today. Bunch of great kids. They're doing a great job. It's an extracurricular activity, and they put a lot of work into preparing their presentations. Basically, what they do is they act as attorneys and witnesses, and they put on a case. And the case is provided by the state of Indiana. They change it every year. This is the second year of my firm's involvement with the Maryville team, and they're doing excellent. And we really enjoy working with those kids, and they're just outstanding scholars, and I wish them the best.
Now, Gladys, you put in a courtroom in your offices. Tell people what that's all about.
I decided a few years ago that, and I don't know of any other law firm in the state of Indiana that has their own mock courtroom, but you hear a lot of trial lawyers talk about the fact that you need to get a good understanding as to your case. So what I do when I have a case coming up for a big mediation, or if I have a trial coming up, I have people from the venue, whether it is Lake County, Porter County, or if it's in federal court, Lake and Porter County, I have between 14 and 20 jurors come to my office. We put on the presentation in my courtroom. We record it, and we are able to see what jurors think about my case. What's good about it, what's bad about it, what should be modified, valuations, and so forth. We also have the clients come and watch it too, because then they get a good feel for what their case is truly worth, or the pitfalls of the case, and certain things that need to be worked on. I'm also, and this goes to all the police departments, I've sent out a brochure to all of the chiefs of police, and I've advised them, based upon discussions with officers I've represented, that I'm going to make my courtroom available to the local police departments so we can actually examine the officers in a courtroom setting, have it recorded so they can see themselves and how they respond to questions and how they present themselves. So, because a couple of the officers have told me that, you know, first time testifying in court, you're very nervous. Well, if you have the opportunity to be examined by a lawyer that knows what they're doing and also see a video of it, you're going to be put in a better position. Same thing with the mock court team from Maryville. We record it so they can watch themselves and they can see how they performed and what they need to work on. So I think it's a great tool. I'm making it, again, free of charge to the police departments, to the schools, just my community give back, and it's good for me. It's good for everybody.
How do policemen perform on the stand?
Well, it comes with experience, I think, most of the time. Sometimes, especially a newer officer, if they've not testified, whether it's a crash report or it's a criminal case, and they're going through their charging affidavit, sometimes they're not familiar with everything. They're not as prepared as they should be, and they're not ready for some of the questions. If you have an attorney that's examined police officers in the past, you can lead them through that process and get them better prepared. So I've talked, again, with several officers now. I know 2 departments are very interested in doing it, and we're going to get them in, and we're going to work with them. Attorney Bosch, who does lots of criminal cases, says he'll volunteer his time to work with some of the officers. Mark Shockey said he'll be involved. Doug Walker in my office. So we have a team of lawyers that can basically take the reports from the officer, develop some questioning, put them on the stand, get the video running, examine them, give them the video, tell them what we thought they could work on, and move from there. So I think it's going to be good for everybody.
He's Dave Gladys, board certified attorney. Just one thing to note in there, Harlow is having the Maryville mock court champions in this afternoon. And if you have something in a high school especially a high school or even, I guess, a middle schooler or so, and you've got kids who are doing good stuff, that's where you can get them on the radio and obviously onto Facebook Live and Twitter video, and you can do that in the afternoon. We used to try to do that in the morning, and it's just too hard to get people here on their way to school. So Harlow's opened that up and is actively looking for people in the local high schools. Somebody, a chess team that's done well, or a speech and debate, or somebody doing a musical. I think they had people from the Hammond Performing Arts Academy over here at Morton the other day. A guy come in and sing, and he'll do all that and wants to have kids from local high schools. And this is just one part of that. Hey, 219-845-1100. And let's talk to Bill on line 3. Bill, you're on with Dave Gladish. What's going on?
Dave and I have known each other for a long time. He's an outstanding lawyer. We disagree on things. This preparation goes to overcoaching, and the witnesses look rehearsed and unnatural. And a veteran trial attorney like my father or Pat Galvin, when he was here, can cut it to pieces in about 30 seconds.
All right, hold on a second.
And another point, to each his own. Somebody have a courtroom in their office. I've got a regulation pool table in my back room, and I get a lot more relaxed preparation there with my people.
Let's go back to this. All right, just from being around Alexis and Gladish and all these guys, what do you got against prepping your witnesses and prepping for a trial?
Well, prepping is fine, but you over prepare people. It is unnatural and rehearsed. It looks that way.
All right, unnatural and rehearsed. All right, hold on a second, Gladish. How do you guard against that?
Well, one, it's not that we start and we have them, give them a script and tell them, this is what you say here, this is what you say there, this is what you do here, this is what you do there. Just getting yourself familiar with the settings and getting used to the questioning and seeing how you respond and how you make eye contact and how you do all those other things. That's important in being prepared to testify, whether it's a doctor, a police officer, a witness to an accident, or the plaintiff or defendant themselves. The more times you get the opportunity to speak in public, the more relaxed you're going to be, and I don't think it's overcoaching. I think it's called good preparation.
What do you think,
Well,
Bill?
I guess there's a balance in there, but we will both agree, and the best advice I ever gotten from my father was there are millions of liars out there, son. What you have to learn to be is a good and accomplished lie catcher.
All right, man. Good point. Thanks a lot. Talk to you. Let's go to Dave on line 2. Dave, you're it.
Hi, Jess. Hi, Dave. Let me give you a hypothetical. I know how you love those. And this would be, let's say, a case of injury. I'm westbound 8094. I'm at mile marker 1. There's a section of 8094 that is approximately, from what I ticked off, an eighth of a mile, that there's exponentially more accidents in that eighth of a mile than anywhere else on 8094 between I-65 and the state line. It's a to me, it's a 6-section of road. Let's say I come to you, I get in a wreck, I say, you know what, I didn't do anything wrong, and it's just this particular section of road. How would you treat my case? I mean, based on the averages, I just drove by, there's another accident there. There seems to be an accident in that eighth of a mile section of road every single day. And there's my case. I'm sitting across the desk from you with my arm in a sling, and that's what I'm asking you. And what would you
By the way, just
tell
so
me?
we can get the facts of the case out there, what section exactly?
It is approximately an eighth of a mile west of Calumet Avenue on westbound 8094. It's where Chuck Poland rolled his car.
It's the Poland area. We all know the area. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I thought you meant. Yeah, west of.
know.
All right, so hang up and listen, and we'll
You
pick
got it.
on this one. All right, Gladys, dissect this, please.
So in reference to, let's say it's a single car accident. We're not saying that somebody else was involved in doing something negligent. It was just this individual saying that the road is bad. My question when somebody says, well, I didn't do anything wrong, I did everything right. And I'll ask the question, have you driven on that road before? Yes. Have you been able to successfully drive on that road without being involved in the accident? Yes. So what is different today or on the date of the accident than on all the other days when you're able to safely drive on that road? Were you driving too fast? Were the weather conditions different? what did you do differently? So that's the question that you have to focus on. And same thing if you're taking a deposition of a defendant and they say, well, I did everything. I was going with the flow of traffic. Okay, what's the flow of traffic? If the speed limit is 55 and you're doing 75, you're violating the law. Did you maintain the appropriate distance between the car in front of you? What did you do differently than all the other days that you drive on that road? Because there is something different because you got involved in that collision. So why did that happen? And that's what you got to break it down to. What happens in reference to the activity? What's the change? So my response to David is, you could say, well, the road is sick or there's a lot of accidents. Well, is it because people drive recklessly? Is it an open stretch or people speed up? Is there, something else that lends itself other than the high traffic volume to being a lot of collisions there? And I drive to Chicago as much as anybody does. I'm not on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, I'm sure. And it's a situation where you see a lot of reckless drivers on the roadway. It's almost like it's a racetrack up there. So
he's Dave Gladish, board certified attorney. We'll be right back after this on AM 1230 WJLB 104.7 FM. Also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube in video.
I enjoy watching basketball at home, but I think we should go over to Johnny's Tap in Munster for drinks and fun.
Yeah, I like going to Johnny's Tap.
Speaking of fun, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Fun.
Mr. Who and Mrs. Who?
Mr. and Mrs. Fun, but they're at Johnny's Tap.
Okay, I'll see you there at the corner of Broadmoor and Calumet Avenue. Yeah, I like going to Johnny's Tap.
Johnny's Tap. New ownership, now smoke-free, and still the home of Mr. and Mrs. Fun.
A real neighborhood type of place.
As the preacher once said, the best kept secret in Lake County, Spike's Lakeside Inn 2, restaurant and bar, Cherville, Indiana, serving seafood at its finest, Lenten specials, also full sandwich and dinner menu, homemade soups with full salad bar. For your adult dining in a comfortable atmosphere, come join us at Spike's Lakeside 2, located at 21 East Joliet Street, Cherville, Indiana, next to the police station across from Town Hall. For reservations, call 322-4444, serving Thursday through Sunday. Remember, 25% off your dining bill on Thursdays and Sundays. Follow us on Facebook. Hope to see you at Spike's Lakeside 2.
Do you have a family history of heart disease or diabetes? St. Catherine Hospital Cardiovascular Prevention Center providers are offering free assessments to help determine your risk for heart disease and other related medical conditions. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 11:30 a.m., you can stop by the center at 7217 Indianapolis Boulevard in Hammond for assessments like an ABI leg circulation test, blood pressure, body mass index, random glucose assessment, and more. You must be 18 or older, and walk-ins are welcome. You have only one body. Let St. Catherine Hospital of Community Healthcare System help you take care of it. You can also call 219-392-7CVP to book an appointment today.
Not only does Catering by Steve's cater for all occasions, Steve's in Hegewisch has expanded their all-you-can-eat Lenten fish fry on Fridays from 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. during Lent. Don't forget trivia every Friday as well. Stop in for some delicious Lenten specials and sample our large selection of craft beers. We also have banquet rooms for your special occasion. Bring your family to enjoy our Easter Sunday brunch on Sunday, April 1st. Call 773-646-1071 to make your reservation. See all we have to offer at cateringbysteve.com, serving the Calumet region since 1958.
7:51 in the Calumet region. What time is it? It's time to go to Albert's. Albert's one of the many sponsors who have allowed us to bring high school basketball to you on your phones in video. Community Healthcare is a presenting sponsor. NIPSCO and BP are also right up there, and all three of those companies have come together to say, let's do this and let's get all these games on your phones. You can watch last night's Munster-Lowell, and you can watch last night's Crown Point Lake Central game. Just go to the Facebook Live feed of WJOB, and you'll be able to watch it. Presented by Community Healthcare Network. And a high of 43 today. Right now it's 37 and really nasty. And if you're watching somewhere else and you're looking in the background, you can see all the trucks going by. It's just a nasty day. And 37 here at the Strachan Van Til Studios. Rainy, winds out of the north at about 12 to 20 miles an hour. And then tonight it gets down to 31. Some of this turns to snow. By tomorrow, that should move out. We should have sunny days for the next 3 days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Highs in the mid-40s. Weather brought to you by our good friends at Ironworkers Local 395. They build stuff. And traffic is brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda. 294 around the city has been bad most of the morning from Cicero on up past the Stevenson. 80 going east and west okay to Joliet. Bishop Ford's been bad also, and that goes from Sibley all the way up to about 67th Street on the Dan Ryan. It's a long way to be in stop and go. Hopefully we're holding your hand on the way up there. Skyway, Toll Road, Borman, I-65 are all moving along pretty well. Dave Gladys is a board-certified attorney, and he comes in and we talk about stuff going on in the legal world. We hit a couple before the break. Gladys, what do we have?
Well, we've had recently, again, in the news about the shootings. One case that's going to be going to trial. Most of the time with these shooters, we have a situation where they either shoot themselves or they're shot by police. This also happened with the Pulse nightclub. I think as it stands, this might be the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history, but 49 people were killed at that nightclub in Orlando. I know we talked about a lot in the year after it happened. Well, the wife of the gunman is actually facing charges in federal court. She's accused of aiding her husband in reference to getting ready for the shooting and also lying to investigators. So you have basically making false statements to federal investigators, which we all know based upon our experience in Lake County is a big no-no, and then aiding and abetting her husband in the attempt to get the material to commit a terrorist act. So I don't know what all the evidence they have against her. I don't know if she was involved in getting any of the weapons or bullets. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and again, I'm reaching back in my memory here, is that she actually drove around with him, and I think they scouted 2 or 3 different locations where they could actually do the shooting. So she was at home at the time of the shooting with her 3-year-old child. So she's saying, hey, I'm not involved. It was all him. He did this all on his own. And the federal law enforcement is saying nope. And they're going to be going to trial here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And this will also be basically a warning to other people. If you know that someone's involved, if you're going to provide somebody that AR-15 or help them get bullets or whatever you're going to do, and they do something heinous like this, that you could be exposed to criminal penalties yourself. You just can't, put your head in the sand and say, well, I didn't know he was going to do that. Well, you have some insight that that's going to happen, or there's a strong potential towards it, and they're going to enforce it, and they're going to go after you.
He's Dave Gladys, board-certified attorney. You want to comment on any of this? You got to do it now. We've got Purdue Northwest coming up here in just a moment. Chancellor Keon and Regina D. will be here today, so we'll have a lot of fun. Hey, Gladys, let's make this a local piece. So you get the Krieg case. And the bomber, he's charged with sending a bomb in the post office over here in East Chicago, allegedly headed toward the home of a local attorney. And we haven't said the name, and it hasn't appeared in the Times as far as I understand it. So anybody who calls in on this, please don't mention that. But the Krieg, for what they're saying, and maybe there's some videotape, and eventually that's going to have to come out in court. They're saying he went over here and he mailed something out of East Chicago. What would bring it to the level that you're talking about here with this Orlando nightclub to say that somebody might have helped them?
Well, if there's a planning, if there's something, you have conspiracy, and if you're involved in conspiracy, I mean, you've taken an act and further into that conspiracy. So it's one thing to talk about something and have a free flow of ideas. It's another to plan a criminal act. And if you make a step in the direction of performing that criminal act, that's where you're going to be charged and can actually be found guilty to the level of the person committing the criminal act. So if somebody was involved in helping them get the gunpowder, helping them to design the bomb, helping them to decide who to target, drove into the post office, whatever your involvement, if you're doing something in furtherance of that, that's where your exposure comes in. So again, if somebody is talking about violence and you want to be involved in that discussion, and if you want to be involved in, helping to plan some act because you're mad at either an individual, this attorney, or if you're mad at an organization and you want to do something, act out to show how much you dislike them, you better be careful because you could be facing some jail time when things go down.
Talking about the case of Eric Krieg, and of course he is just charged at this point. I don't know, it hasn't been disposed of in any sort of court. And then at some point I imagine we'll have some sort of a trial or some sort of a plea or something like that. But hypothetically, what if Eric Krieg had gone to somebody to learn how to build a bomb, and they told him?
And they helped him. Again, I think that if you're going to be able to produce solid evidence as to that, again, you're going to have to show beyond a reasonable doubt that person was involved to that level and participated in that level. I think that person would have exposure. And I think the government would go after that individual, to send a message that if you're going to help somebody, let's say, for example, and I don't know this individual, but let's say, for example, some other individual, whether they have mental health problems or they have a low IQ, and you coerce them into performing an act like this, and you are basically the brains behind the operation, you're not shielded by the fact that you took advantage of somebody who has a mental health issue or a low IQ. Your involvement in furthering the activity, the criminal activity here, is going to allow for your exposure to criminal penalties yourself. So
All right,
be
let's
careful.
extrapolate further. This is a case that the feds are just taking incredibly seriously, the Eric Krieg
It's very,
case.
very serious.
Domestic terrorism gets pushed right to the top and gets
Absolutely.
incredible attention because of the damage that a terrorist can exact on people if not caught in check. And we're seeing domestic terrorists shoot up schools on a regular basis now. How deep you think the feds are going right now?
Well, I have no personal knowledge, and I don't know actually what evidence they've uncovered thus far. But if I'm not mistaken, again, reaching back into my mind here, that he did give a statement, did he not? Didn't he speak with the investigators and give a pretty detailed discussion? So
I guess the question is, they go to Krieg and they say, all right, well, it looks like we got you here.
why'd you do it? Who did it with you? How'd you do it? Where'd you get the materials? What was the purpose? Blah, blah, blah.
In other words, are those negotiating pieces that he has? If somebody helped him, and instead of getting 30 years, he could get 15 by just turning someone else in, and they offer that to him. I mean, that's what you see on TV all the time.
Well, again, that's the question. Was somebody else involved? Just because, you may be able to insinuate somebody had some involvement, that's one thing, but to have actual evidence of that is another. So we do not want innocent people going to prison because somebody's trying to alleviate themselves from criminal culpability. So you want to make sure that the evidence that they're trying to put forth against another individual is true and not just an attempt to, deflect liability.
So coming back to this woman, she's going on trial in Orlando soon?
In federal court, yes. So it's a situation where I think a lot of people are going to be watching this. It says the trial begins actually today, and they say the trial can take as long as a month. So if you're going to have a month-long trial, there's going to be a lot of witnesses, a lot of evidence produced, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the outcome is, and I will keep the listeners updated as to the progress of this trial.
And I agree with you, Gladys, that there has to be a deterrent effect there. That if someone's going a little whack job and, they're thinking about doing stuff, and, you can't help them, man.
And the thing is, it can't be like, well, I kind of agree with what this individual thinks and the way he wants to act out, so I'm just going to help him just maybe a little bit or give him some support because I want him to send a message. You do that, you're exposing yourself. So, be careful, and we got to stop the violence somehow. And by sending messages where people, even if they're crucially involved in the case, if you did something to further their act, you're going to have criminal responsibility, and they're going to go after you.
He's Dave Gladys. Thanks for coming in, Gladys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, guys. We're going to end this Facebook and Twitter, and at 8:05 we will start Purdue Northwest. See ya.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Easy Clean is